everybody, and welcome back at Adobe Live. I'm your host Clady, and I'm here with you to start and kickstart this wonderful Illustrator challenge. And today we're going to be talking about foundations of Adobe Illustrator. In particular, we're going to be focusing on gradient. I'm going to give you a quick preview of what the gradients tools are in Illustrator that you can use, but most importantly, how we can use it. As usual, we're here to learn together at Adobe Live, and with the challenges, you can either sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, or you can just go ahead and click at the link below in the description in order to download the starter file so you can actually work together with me as we get along. Let me say hi to the chat. I can say, Val, hi, lovely to see you. It's been a while. Robert, Odari, Steve, ciao. I can also see Richard, Afroya, lovely to see you. Let me know in the chat if you have used gradient before in Illustrator, and if so, which project you use them with. And also let me know where are you watching from. I'm streaming from Manchester, UK. It's 7:30 p.m. here, and I am very excited to learn more about you and where are you watching from. But without further ado, let's get started. Let's dive into my screen. This should be most likely the way that you're gonna see your file as well. As I say, this is an Illustrator file. We are going to be working in Illustrator throughout this challenge, and we're going to explore gradient as they are one of the foundation tool of this wonderful app. In particular, we're going to be talking about linear gradient, radial gradient, and the magical free form gradient. Now, if you do have this particular layout, those are different artboards that I prepared with you, in which we can have some swatches and some images to use as a reference point. And then these two are two different applications where we can actually learn how to play with gradients. So I'm going to start real quick by changing and toggling the visibility of the layers. And actually, let me take a step back. If you never worked with Illustrator before, let's go ahead and explore the layers panel. Every time that I share a file with you, and hopefully every time that you are going to start a new file, a new document in Illustrator, you can create different layers, which I would strongly recommend you to do. Layers work like container in which you can place images, vectors, anything you want, and you will be able to have a better control inside your document content. In fact, not only you can toggle the visibility by clicking on the little eye icon, and therefore you can show or hide anything that is contained inside the layer, but you can also click on the little space next to the name of the layer in order to activate the little lock, which will preserve any editing. So you can see now I've locked this layer, so you cannot click, drag, modify, or change anything that is locked in the layer. And that's so useful when working on composition that have different assets. We're gonna talk about that in a second. We're gonna start to see some gradients layered up. Now, before we get started, if you don't know what layers are, I also prepared some different examples. Those are examples that I pulled from the internet just to give you an idea. You can use layers into abstract illustration, book cover, flyers, posters, and social media assets, or pretty much anything you want. They are gorgeous way to attract people's attention and make sure that your design is memorable. Let me see in the chat. Aaron says, free from gradients, it's a magical tool. Yes, we're gonna go ahead and explore. And just for you to get an idea of what we're talking about, this is definitely something that we can create with a linear gradient. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you those first. While these other gradients are most likely the magical freeform gradient. Perfect. Odari, lovely to see you. Nice to see you in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and hide those examples so we can go ahead and build our own. I'm going to show the gradients and the images so I can show you how we can pick up color also to create our gradients. So before we get started, let me go ahead and select a rectangle tool, which is in the toolbar. You can also activate the rectangle tool by pressing the letter M on your keyboard and then click and drag anywhere in order to create a rectangle. Now, the reason why I created a rectangle is because you need a shape. You need a something to apply a gradient to. You cannot build a gradient if you do not have a shape, which it doesn't have to be a rectangle, by the way. It can be any sort of shapes that you like. If you work with Illustrator before, you know that we have all these wonderful vector points that allow us to create and modify shapes. But let's just use this rectangle as an example. In order to apply a gradient, you have a different choice. Either you can press the letter G on your keyboard that will activate the gradient tool, or you can simply click on the gradient tool that is located here in the middle of the toolbar. Now we have a lovely animation that already shows us what a gradient is, and basically what we're going to be seeing is a blend between different colors, two or more colors. Now let's go ahead and select the gradient tool, or again just press the letter G in order to apply it, and then all we're left to do is to click on the shape, or also click and drag on the shape in order to apply a linear gradient. So the linear gradient as a linear blend. That's why it's called linear, because the blend between, in this case, two colors follows a line. And you can see the line is over here in between the two colors. Now, whenever we have a linear gradient, we can decide the length by clicking and dragging on one of its endpoints, but you can also decide the rotation, so you can move the gradient around, and also you can choose the distribution between the two colors. Now the colors inside any gradients are called color stops. You can always double click on a color stop in order to bring up the color that will allow you to choose in between any of the colors that are present inside the swatch panel, or you can use any color you want and use the RGB mix in order to create your favorite color. You can always change the RGB to HSB or CMYK or web safe RGB if you want to, or also grayscale, which is what we had before. So as I said, here you can build any color you want for your color stop, or you could also use the color picker automatically with your color stop selected, and then head to any image and simply lift any color you want in order to apply it. So let's do that together. Let's select the color picker, and then let's go ahead and select a color, and you will see that automatically. Let me go ahead and choose another one so it's a little bit more visible. Again, all I'm doing is here clicking at the color picker. You will see that the color picker is active. And with the color picker active, you can click anywhere in order to lift the specific color that you're clicking on in order to apply the gradient, the color to the gradient. I was reading around said can be used to fade a picture or art into white. Perfect. Let's actually use this example, because we're also going to be talking about this specific tool and how to use them. So I'm going to go ahead and select this image that I have here, and I'm going to go into the application number 2. Now, what if, as Aaron has said, and by the way, if you are watching from YouTube, I can see a few people saying hi on YouTube. Jump on behance.net/live. That is the place in which I can read your chat and your comments, and I will be able to, interact with you, and everybody you will be able to interact with the community. So let's go ahead and take this example of the linear gradient. Now, actually, before we go ahead and move forward and show this wonderful example, Iran, thank you for mentioning it. I want to show you first, where do you see the different gradients available? When you select a shape that has a gradient applied to it, you can head to the properties panel, and you will see that once there is a shape and you have your gradient tool active, or a shape where there is a gradient already applied, you will have a new section, a new set of options called gradient. Now here you will be able to choose which gradient you're looking to apply. As I said, the first one, which is also the default that gets applied right away, is the linear gradient, followed by the radial gradient, which instead of moving the blend on a line, it will move it into a radius. So we can go ahead and say right away from this example that if I switch between the linear and the radial, let me go ahead and zoom in and perhaps choose another color here, so we have a little bit of more contrast between the two. So here we go. If we switch between a linear, we have a linear blend. Otherwise, we're going to have a radial blend between the two colors. And even here, as you can see, we have the little bar in which we can choose the size of our gradient. In this case, we're going to just simply choose the size of our circle. And then you can also change the circle between a perfect circle into an ellipse. And you can also make it smaller or bigger, so you can choose where to fade your gradient, which you can also do so by changing the distribution here as well. Fantastic. So as I said, those are the first type: linear gradient, radial gradient, and then I'm just going to show you real quick, but then we're going to have a little bit of a deeper dive in just a second about the free form gradient. The free form gradient is a bit different because it allows you to freely place color stops anywhere you want simply by clicking inside the shape. And again, you can double click on any color you wish in order to change its hue, so its color value. And then not only you can click whatever you want in order to apply and create a brand new color stop, but then you can also click on them and move it around your shape freely in order to create whatever blend you want, which can take any shapes that you want. You can move them one next to each other, or you can just simply move them apart. And if you're not happy with a color stop that you place, you can simply click on it and then press the delete key, or also you can click on it and then drag it outside the bounding box of the shape to which is applied in order to delete it. Now, another important thing when working with gradient is the distribution of this oracle spread. You can control that by clicking and dragging on the little circle that is just outside the main color stop, just like so. Or you can also control the spread by double clicking on your little gradient color stop and then choosing spread here. You can choose the color of the spread, which brings me to another settings that you can adjust, which is the opacity. So of course, when the opacity is low, we're going to head into a transparent color, which is exactly the example that I'm just going to show you in a second. We're going to head back into a linear gradient. So in this case, we have this gradient that heads to whatever is the color to white. So for example, if we do have a photo, and I'm just going to go ahead and choose, for example, this photo here, and then we have, let's say, a white background, you can choose it to fade the image inside the background with whatever color you want. So let's say in this case, I'm just going to change the application here. I'm going to have this one. And again, I'm just stretching and distorting this image. That can be literally anything you want. I'm going to go ahead and edit the gradient. By the way, anytime that you create and apply gradient to a shape, you will always be able to edit it by simply selecting the gradient and then clicking on the Edit Gradient button that is located inside the Properties panel. Again, whenever you have the Properties panel open and then you have a shape to which a gradient is applied to, the gradient option will be there automatically. So if you select on Edit Gradient, you will be able to edit the gradient. Now, to see more options and use the panel to edit the gradient even further, you can click on the three dots, which are located at the bottom of the options, in order to open the gradient pop-up. They will allow you not only to go ahead and explore the different the different gradient type, as we said before, but will also allow to apply any of the presets that we can find here, and also you will be able to change the colors of the stop, like we said before, using the color slider. So we can use this one, for example, just here. Let's make it white, just like so. Or you can also change the color of the gradient. So I'm just going to go ahead and real quick change the color. If we reverse it, in this case, we're going to have the top and the bottom swapping, just like so. If you decide in this case to change, for example, your gradient from vertical to horizontal, all you have to do is to click on it in order to reposition it in whatever way you like. But now, if you want to fade this image into a white background, the best option will be to just simply head and select white at both sides. And then for the color stop that is closer to your image, choose a very low opacity. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that, of course, your gradient is located on top of the image, because it looks like that now is located at the bottom. In order to select any image and bring it above or below, simply use the shortcut Command Shift right bracket or left bracket if you need to bring it to the bottom. Now I want to show you first here what we've done is to have a gradient that goes from a complete transparency into a full white. And in order to make sure, what we want to do is to eliminate this hard cut over here of this lens of this white. So perhaps what I'm going to do here is to make my rectangle a little bit bigger, so I have a little bit more room to play with my gradient. And then all I'm left to do is to move my gradient so I fade this white border of the image, just like so, and I will be able to display something like an image like that, and then have it fading right away into white. I'm just going to go ahead and select the gradient and move it away, and you see that we have automatically masked this image. And if we do have a background, and I'm just going to go ahead and select a background, apply a normal color to it, so I'm just going to make it solid blue. Let's go ahead and move it to the background here. We can do exactly the same by, again, editing our gradient, making sure that instead of fading it to white, we fade it to blue. And because our background color is blue, we do have the same effect of fading the art to whatever color you want. The reason why I choose in particular white is because that is very useful, especially if you want to, you know, write any sort of information below an image. Perfect. And if you want, as well, as I said, you can always choose the color picker that will also allow you to select any color you want directly from your image, which is even nicer, so you can fade it to a specific color that already belongs to an image. And hopefully that was a nice way to start to apply transparency and opacity in order to blend a gradient and allow you to fade images into a solid background, so you can also display your image and have what we call an area where you can place some text. So let's move on and let's start to talk a little bit more about gradients here. So a way in which you can create gradient, as you've seen, is to pick color directly from an image. Or in the past, what you would have done is to create some swatches by selecting the shape and using the eyedropper tool, which you can find in the toolbar just right there. Or you can press the letter I on your keyboard in order to activate it. And you see right away that we have this little eyedropper icon that pops up. And then you can simply select colors from any image you want, just like so, one at a time. And this is quite a time-consuming task that will allow to have control when selecting a gradient. And you can go on as much as you want in order to choose the colors that you wish to use. Now you can also then select the swatches and then head to Window, select the swatches panel, which is under the window menu like any other panels. And if we go ahead and select this little folder icon, we can create a new color group. So here we'll have, I'm going to just call it ring, so we know that it's part of the ring. Make sure that you click on select artwork to have these options selected and click on OK. And here you will see that automatically you have this new color palette that is lifted from whatever image you wanted, that is now there available for you to use. So if we go ahead and we have let's apply a freeform gradient over here. If we want to start to add color stop to our gradient, we can double click, and now we have this option to add the color that we lift from our panel. This is wonderful, although it's a little bit consuming, because imagine if you want to try and test multiple colors, it's going to take you a very long time to add these colors to one by one from your images, and maybe you're not even happy with the color, so you're going to have to go back over and over again. So before we move forward, I want to show you a fantastic option of working with the Creative Cloud services like color.adobe.com and the wonderful libraries. So let's go ahead and start by choosing the libraries and select and create a new library here, which I'm going to call gradients, and then click on create in order to open your library. Once we do so, all we have to do is to head on the wonderful color.adobe.com, and here we can first of all create and explore any color palette that we can then apply to our gradient. You can also choose any theme you want. So for example, if you want a very rainbow pastel, for example, set of color, you will be able to search rainbow pastel, whatever color you want, flowers. But here we go. And whenever you're happy with a color combination that you would like to use for your gradient, all you're left to do is to click to the add to library icon, and it will be automatically stored in your library. Now the library that is selected here, it will tell you which library is the one that is going to be used. So make sure to select gradients, which is or whatever library you want to use, and then you can move it into the appropriate library. So let's go ahead and do this again for another gradient. We can just simply click to add to library to make sure that is added, and here you will tell you right away theme successfully added to gradients. But what if you want to use your very own image? Well, let's go back to the Adobe Color main website. Again, you can always access it by heading to color.adobe.com, and then you can go ahead and select extract theme. Here all you'll have to do is to select a file. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose either the painting or even the ring that I was using before and click on open, and automatically color.adobe.com will choose the predominant color, but you always have the options to explore and select any color you wish from the image that you have brought in. So you have a complete flexibility of the color palette that you're going to be building while designing, and you have the opportunity to choose 5 colors between this color palette that is available here. And when you're done, again, you can always give it a name. So you can call this one, for example, ring 2, and then you can give it a tag if you want to make it public for people to find it. And then again, just simply click on the plus icon. Remember, save will allow you to bring it into the library. So with the plus icon, you just create a new library, so you will be able to modify your libraries also from the website. Otherwise, if you click on save, it will save to the library, in this case my gradients library that is here. You can click on a down pointing arrow if you wish to change libraries. As you can see, I use that very often. But now, before the time runs out, let's head back into Illustrator and see what happened here. As you can see, the color themes, both the color theme that we choose from the ring and the one that we selected from the panels, are automatically available for us to use. That means that we can completely ditch these little color gradients that we have there. We can ditch the images, and all we're left to do is to select any shape we want to apply the gradient to. We work smarter, so we're just going to press the letter G to apply the gradient. Head to the properties panel, make sure that we select our magic little freeform gradient, and you can start by clicking and adding points. But because we have our colors saved inside our libraries, once you select a color stop, all you're left to do is simply to click inside your library, and then you can add any color you want directly from your library, and as you will see, it will be applied to your image as well. Now, what if you want an image to look exactly like another? So what if I want to apply this gradient to this cloud, which and to look exactly like the other one? Well, you can select your cloud and use the eyedropper tool, again the letter I on your keyboard, and click on the other cloud in order to apply the same gradient. But what if you're not happy with the distribution? Because of course, depending on the shape is going to change the way that it's distributed. You can always press the letter G, and in this case you will be able to edit the gradient, and then here you can select any other color that you want to make sure that it looks exactly the way you want. Now, what if you have two separate shapes here, like this planet, in which you perhaps want to go ahead and start applying colors? And in this case, let's go ahead and I just want to do with a freeform gradient, so it's a little bit more noticeable as well. So here I'm going to go ahead and add these two colors from my libraries. I just want to keep it consistent with the color that we used before, just like so. So we created our little planet, and then here again, if I go ahead and press the letter I, and here I'm just going to go ahead and add another point to make sure that we just created something a little bit different. So because I really want to show you the beauty of working like that. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to make sure that this blue fades into this other bottom part of our planet. In order to treat multiple images like one single image, you can create what is called a compound path that does exactly what it says on the tin. Literally create a compounds of this path. You can do so by selecting the two shapes. You can either click on one, hold the shift key and click on the other one, and use the shortcut Command 8 if you're working on a Mac. There will be Control 8 if you're working on a Windows machine. By doing so, you are creating now a compound path. And as you can see now, if I go ahead and apply a color, oops, let me go ahead and change it into a solid color, it will apply the entire color to the entire shape. Now, it was having a little bit of a confusion because we had the two different gradients applied to it. But you will be able to select and apply the single shapes and a single color, whatever color you want, directly to the entire image. So it's literally treating this image as if is one single group. Can you see? Even if they're two separate shapes, it treats them like one single shape. And now something amazing that I like to do with gradients, and we just have 1 minute, is to also overlay. So for example, here I'm going to go ahead and click on the option key to create a copy. Then I'm just going to go ahead and erase our little shade, the stroke, and I'm just going to press the letter G to apply a gradient. I'm just going to be happy with a linear gradient. You can see here that we have the gradient that automatically gets applied to the entire shape. If I go ahead and select the original circle and I make sure that I align these, you will be able to also use the blend modes in order to create a fade effect in between the actual color of the gradient and the color of the background. So if I select on you, for example, or maybe color, I think I choose two colors that are too similar to each other. Let's go ahead and perhaps make our gradient a different color, so something a little bit darker, just like so. Maybe we can get a little bit more contrast. Will allow you to apply this effect, so you literally have a blend between two different colors simply by overlaying a solid color and a blend. Unfortunately, it's crazy. It's about time to say goodbye already. Don't forget to head here on our lovely Discord in order to share your result and get feedback. The Illustrator channel is there, and then all you have to do is to head to the challenge channel to submit your work and make sure to get feedback from the wonderful community. And don't forget that we're going to be back with another challenge, and I look forward to see you here at Adobe Live. Bye everybody.